Right, let's get to it.
Sorry, I've got a list, and I was told to ask the people in this order. Laura.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Cummings. Do you regret what you did? Because many people in this country have made heartbreaking sacrifices in the last couple of months in order to stick to the rules that you were part of putting together. And many people may have listened to you and think you made your own interpretation. And do you understand, for some people, it seems as if there was one version of the rules for you and one version of the rules for everyone else.
Exactly.
Thank you, Laura. No, I don't regret what I did. As I said, I think reasonable people may well disagree about how I thought about what to do in these circumstances, but I think that what I did was actually reasonable in these circumstances. In terms of the rules, I think that the rules made clear that if you're dealing with small children, then that can be exceptional circumstances. And I think that the situation that I was in was exceptional circumstances. And I think that the way that I dealt with it was the least risk to everybody concerned if my wife and I had both been unable to look after our 4-year-old.
It may sound to many people this afternoon, though, that you're using a loophole that was in complete contrast to the message people heard day after day from Number 10 of stay at home, stay at home, stay at home. Do you understand why some people are really angry about this? Not just respectfully disagree, that they're furious.
I certainly do. I mean, I've seen some of the media obviously over the last couple of days, and I'm not surprised that a lot of people are very angry, and lots of people, if you're someone sitting at home watching all the media over the last 3 days, then I think lots of people would be very angry, and I completely understand that. But I hope and think that today, when I've actually explained all of the circumstances about it, I think people will realise this was a very complicated, tricky situation, and I was trying to weigh up a lot of different things. Some people might have behaved differently in some ways. As I said, arguably it was a mistake that I didn't call the Prime Minister on the Friday night, and I just did what I thought was the right thing to do, but I have to make decisions like that every day.
By breaking the rules. Okay.
Yes, I understand that people watching the media could be very upset about what's happened, but I think I've explained why.
Offer any regret, any apology to people who didn't have the ability to make the decisions that you did, who didn't have the resources to do what you did?
As I said, I think I've thought a lot about what I did over this period. What things I could have done better with this. What things I could have done better in general in dealing with the whole crisis. There's definitely a lot of things that I could have done better over the last few months. But I think what I did in this 14 days, I think that I behaved reasonably.
Where's the apology? Where's the apology? Oh my God, no fucking apology. That's ridiculous. Not even a sorry.
So, just to be absolutely clear, in this 14-day period and subsequently, apart from one visit to Durham and back, and a trip to Barnard Castle, neither you or Mary have been anywhere else at all. Also, millions of people haven't seen their parents for months now. Can you just tell us a bit more about the nature of your contact with your parents? And then finally, your own scientists are worried, they said this last night, that by introducing an element of personal discretion into the interpretation of the rules, you are putting lives at risk.
Right.
What would you say to them, and what would you say to us to reassure us?
Let's hear this then.
Thanks, Robert. So I think you asked whether it was true that over this 14-day period that we didn't go anywhere else apart from off in the car on day 15. No, that's not correct. I went. Yes, exactly. There was the trip to hospital, And then there was the drive on day 15. But apart from that, neither of us left.
And nothing since then, either.
Nothing since then in terms of.
Just trips that break the rules, as it were.
No, I mean, I left. I'm not exactly sure where the boundaries of London are, but as far as I'm aware, the only time that I left London since Tuesday the 14th was to go to Chequers for meetings with the Prime Minister.
And that would be true of Mary as well, I mean, because you're a household, you know.
Yes, I mean, Mary and I have been together since we returned.
And then on this issue of contact with your parents.
Issue contact with my parents. So, I mean, obviously, so neither Mary nor I had been tested. So neither of us could be definitively sure about what our situation was. Mary had been ill and then recovered, but she hadn't had a cough, a fever. I pretty clearly seemed to have COVID, and talking to medical experts, they thought that, but I wasn't tested. But obviously our default mode was assume that all three of us have got it. So I was in a cottage 50 metres or so away from everybody else. Obviously we kept very, very far away from them. There are various reports that I visited them, I was staying with them. That's all completely untrue. My parents are in their 70s. Obviously I did not want to give them this disease, and so we stayed very far away. We did have some conversations, but they were, we're on a farm, and there were shouted conversations at a distance. They weren't some of the things that have been reported. In terms of introducing a question of discretion, so I'm not seeking to introduce anything or any element of discretion. To me, the rules are there. They talk about what to do with. They talk about exceptional circumstances and small children. I was trying to weigh up on that Friday night conflicting things between what happens if we're both ill, who's going to look after him, what's the safest way of doing that, is there a way in which I might be able to go back to work the following week if the whole testing system changes, which was being discussed but did not in fact happen. I was trying to weigh all of those things up. Given that, I think that I don't believe that I broke the rules. I think that
breaking the rules. It's that the SPIP and SPIM members last night said that they think you introduced the idea that if your personal circumstances allow, you can do something different from what the simple rules say, and they are very worried that will make it much harder to contain the spread of the disease.
Well, I think that they're right to be worried that the coverage of the last couple of days could encourage people to behave in certain ways. But with great respect to them, they made those comments without knowing what had actually happened. And actually, that's one of the reasons why I think now it would have been better to have made this statement earlier. But as it was, well, I didn't, and it would have been better to have done it earlier, for sure, and that would have also, I think, stopped some of those guys being themselves confused by what they read.
Okay.
Beth.
Thank you.